Alright guys, this is the walkthrough for the hiking club problems, and we're just going to kind of knock out maybe 2 at a time. We'll do 1 and 2 in this video and then 3 and 4 in the next. But we have this hiking club that's going on a trip up a mountain, and the members have increased their elevation 290 feet. So they have an increase, they've gone up 290 during their hike this morning. Now they are at an elevation of 450. So they got up 290 from somewhere and ended up here. And then they want us to explain how to find their elevation before the hike. So before the 290 increase to get to 450, where were they at the beginning? Well, I would simply say just subtract. Subtract 450 minus 290, and that would tell you where they began their day. So if you do that, you get 160 when you subtract those two numbers. Now you can show that work over to the side, or you can do that in your head, but I think if you've written down this, you have enough information to explain where you think that they're at. We feel like they're at 160 feet. Now Han thinks about this a little bit differently in part B. He says that the equation E plus 290 equals 450 describes this situation. What does the variable E represent? Well, Han's kind of telling a story. Like, I started somewhere and then I increased by 290 and I ended up here. He's like telling the story in equation form. So really the E for him represents the starting elevation. The starting elevation, which would be 160 that we found before. We could plug it in right there. Alright, let's look at part C. Han says that he can rewrite his equation as E equals 450 plus negative 290 to solve for E. Compare Han's strategy to your strategy for finding the beginning elevation. Okay, so he's like, I can rewrite this. And this is kind of what we did up here in the matching section. If we have an equation, and I know this one's super easy, but we can always rewrite this as the opposite of adding 290 would be taking 450 and adding 290's opposite, which is negative 290. So he's saying I can take these two numbers and essentially subtract them to find out what E is. So comparing it to my strategy, I would say it's the same math, just written with different signs. So that's what I would say. It's the same math as my subtraction, but with different signs. And that answers number 1, parts A, B, C. Number 2, the temperature fell 4 degrees in the last hour. Now it is 21 degrees. Write and solve an equation. So they want us to kind of treat this like Han did this last problem. Write an equation for this story. Okay? So we don't know where the temperature was at the beginning. We can call that T. Okay? But we do know that it fell 4 degrees. So we could represent that with either a minus 4. We also could represent that with a plus negative 4. Either one would work. But we just know that after that fall, it equaled at 21. Right? And if we were going to solve this equation, then we have a couple of different options. We could do the opposite of adding negative 4, which is simply just taking 21. T would be 21 plus 4. Or, like you did in elementary school, if they're taking 4 away, then to find T, we can add 4. And either way, you're doing 21 plus 4, which gives you 25 degrees. And that's number 1 and number 2 for the hiking club.